Okay, good evening and welcome to the Westborough Select Board meeting here called on Tuesday, December 21st. I am filling in for our chair this evening. And I would ask anybody that is able to, well, actually I don't have it in front of me. Do we have the remote?
The what?
Oh, it's on the thing, right?
It's on the back of that.
Yep. Sorry about that. Because we're meeting in hybrid session tonight, I will read the language that we're supposed to. So pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body as well as members of the public may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at the meeting location as listed on the agenda, and it is possible that any or all members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. The meeting may also be accessed remotely via the Zoom link that was on the agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by in-person attendance or by accessing the meeting remotely as noted prior. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Westborough TV on Verizon Cable Channel 28 and Charter Channel 192, and through their online platforms, westboroughTV.org and youtube.com/WestboroughTV. So thank you for that. And with that, I'd ask those who are able to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jumping right into our agenda, the first thing on our agenda is open forum. Is anybody here this evening for open forum? Okay, seeing none, we'll move rapidly into the town manager report.
Thanks. Sorry you didn't get a report ahead of time. We were finishing up the budget, so that's my full report on my end, is that the budget is complete. And we have the document that will be posted this evening on the website. And then in department head updates, the community development director reported that they've been awarded in excess of $50,000 in grants for renovations dealing with accessibility items from the Mass Office of Disability. This is for the Harvey building and the golf course building. So most of the items are repair of doorways and pathways associated with those buildings. The Council on Aging had their holiday party this month. They also delivered 65 Thanksgiving meals. They had 230, the annual Christmas presents program provided gifts and holiday plants to 230 seniors. They said goodbye to Mary Donna Corcoran, so she was our outreach worker who worked with us for several years, and so she retired this month. And then they'll be adding 2 additional exercise programs in January, working with the AARP tax aid program to set up appointments beginning in February. And they're also preparing for the 2022 Senior Veterans Property Tax Work Program, which starts in January. The Finance Department has also been working on the budget. They've also been working with the State Department of Revenue on setting the tax rate and then the issuance of the third quarter real estate tax bills. Information technology received a grant from Maya, which is our insurance company, for $7,440 for a phishing assessment and penetration testing. The assessment covers 2 testing periods and will include all town office staff. The library will be holding several fun events for kids during school vacation next week. The animal meet and greet with the Roger Williams Park Zoo, folk tales from Asia, New Year's Eve on Friday, the December 31st. Museum passes are available for loan, and there are lots of good ones still left for vacation, so you can go to the website. And then they're now loaning snowshoes in the Room of Things. The police department received an award of $16,803 to supplement additional equipment for their upcoming body-worn cameras program. The grant will be used to purchase additional equipment, such as additional body-worn cameras for spares, 12 signal switches to be installed in police department line vehicles, and firearm switches mounted and installed into holsters. The switches work similarly to the taser switch. If cruiser lights are activated, the body cameras turn on automatically. The recreation department has the basketball program up and running. The golf course is now closed for the season. Memberships for 2022 season are available for purchase now, and if you sign up before January 31st, you'll pay the 2021 rate. The town clerk is collecting nomination papers. No one has taken out papers yet for the vacated seats on the planning board or the housing authority. They're ordering supplies for our new 6th precinct for the upcoming annual town election. The street list has been completed and books are ordered for 2022. And then the Youth and Family Services has their 20th annual free holiday store. Applications were received from 230 children, which is an increase of 100 from last year. Due to continued concerns about risk and safety during COVID, they're collecting the gift cards, which I know one of you mentioned before. So gift cards in small increments between $5 and $10 or $5 and $15. With grant funding from Metro West Health Foundation, they've continued to implement outreach programming, preventing and recognizing mental health distress. And then they continue to have new requests for service. So my report was short, but that was lengthy, so that I appreciate the department heads providing that for you.
Great, thank you. We are well ahead of schedule, which is, I think, okay. And we have our police chief and deputy chief here. So next thing on our agenda is the approved traffic constable position and job description. So welcome to the podium.
If you want to plug this in, I can pull it up on this. I believe so.
See, we knew.
I corrected the one thing. No, you go ahead. So
We see it, but can you drag?
So hopefully, if we can get it up. The deputy's just going to give just a brief PowerPoint presentation, and then I can answer any questions that you have. But I just wanted to really just stress this is just a change due to what we're dealing with the Police Officer Standards and Training Commission. But I'll let hopefully the deputy, the presentation will answer most of your questions.
So yeah, real quick. Let's see what
Yeah, Tom,
Alright,
can you just move the mic, make sure you're in the microphone, because we do get complaints for people watching,
Okay,
so,
so
thank you.
I know this is really weird, the traffic constable's position. This is something new to us. It's new to everybody. There's a lot of communities that are now starting to look at this. So there's a real reason to why we're looking to do this, and I will look at getting into that as we do this. So obviously we need to have detail officers working in our community. We have a difficulty even right now filling our details every day. It's a problem, and so this is part of what we're trying to accomplish. We understand that the need for competent and safe traffic control at traffic details throughout the town of Westborough is a paramount concern, and primarily traffic details are performed by police officers. But what we're proposing is to create this traffic constable position where they're actually civilians doing what the traffic detail officers usually do. So when we ask, like, well, why does this come up? Why is this an issue right now? And the chief and I have spoke to you before about post and the requirements of post. one of the major issues is for any reserve police officer, okay, so they didn't go through the full-time academy, they went through the reserve police academy. They need to then also go through another 200 hours of a bridge academy, and they need to have 2,400 hours of patrol work to be certified. So our reserve officers just do details. They don't do patrol work. In some communities, they do patrol work, they're part-time, they do other work. But the Reserve Academy is another 80 hours of classroom, 40 hours of firearms, 40 hours of defensive tactics, and 40 hours of emergency vehicle operations. So we also have an issue with retired officers over the age of 65. So technically, in a case that just came out in the town of Foxborough, it's pretty clear that over 65, you can't work as a police officer. So by creating the traffic constable position, we also allow for these officers to work and continue to do details. This is a non-sworn person. They don't have police powers, they don't have weapons, they don't have a badge, they don't drive police cars, and they're appointed under Chapter 41, Section 91A and 91B, which is, it allows you to appoint constables to the town of Westborough. We will require training. They obviously have to have a driver's license. We will require CPR certification. We are looking at some Maya training. Whether or not it's going to be applicable, we don't really know. We certainly want them to have some level of training to be able to direct traffic. Certainly, you know, if they're retired police officers, then we know they have that, but, so we are working with Maya to try to develop some training that would be applicable for them, and obviously there's help for the town of Westborough to have Maya training, obviously. So some of the other communities that are already doing this, Southborough, Hopkinton, Framingham, Lexington, Attleboro, Woburn, we've talked to all these communities, we've looked at their policies, we've looked at their procedures. It really is something new, but we really feel that it's something that's, it's coming, because we can't fill the details that we have. And the only really way we have to do is to have these traffic officers. So, thank you.
So, and just to kind of close, I'll answer any questions. One of the reasons why we had to act on this quickly and to do it now is we have 4 reserve officers that work for us currently that they're going to lose their certification July 1st. And one of them, quite frankly, is a very valuable employee to the town, Patrick Cullen. He does IT work for our department, and he's a lieutenant in the fire department. I'd like to see him continue assist us, you know, in that role. There are 2 reserves that qualify for the bridge because they work in a small town as part-time police officers. And as the deputy stated, we didn't see this coming a year and a half ago. The Police Officer Standards and Training Commission, it's just everyday things are changing. Questions are asked about policies and procedures, and they're all going to be changing as these subcommittees get up and running, whether it be body cameras or anything to do with police work. It's been very challenging, to say the least. So we're really not creating anything new. They'll be doing the same basic job, except they can't work the basketball game. They can't work a security detail, but they'll be able to help us, you know, at certain events where they can help us move pedestrian traffic and vehicle traffic. And quite frankly, the other reason why this is so imperative that we do this is we don't want to punish our business community. You know, these companies, they need people to work, making sure that their work zones are safe, and they're all too often, we just can't fill them. I was talking to the Southbridge chief recently. He was ordering on 18 officers a day to work pay details to keep these companies up and running. It's just, it's problematic right now, and then post is gonna make it worse when we lose all of our reserve forces. And it's basically by alphabet, so we'll lose people yearly for the next 3 years. So that's why it's imperative that we do this. And I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you have.
I just wanted to add to what the chief and deputy said. It's just to be really clear. I know they said it, but details. We have a sort of a bank of reserve officers, detail officers, and they only get paid when they work. They're not additional employees. I mean, they're employees, but they're more like a per diem. And we use them to fill details that are paid for by private companies as they need them. There are details that are paid for by the town. If the DPW is doing work somewhere, if we have an event downtown, we might use a detail officer in that way. And some of that is absorbed by the department, and some of it might be paid, interdepartmentally. But either way, there's a cost because you have to pay the individual. But primarily, it's outside companies that are paying this detail. We also charge an administrative fee per the policy. That really takes care of sort of the indirect costs of managing the billing and things like that. So.
Great, thanks. Questions from the board? Sean?
Yeah, so it sounds like the reserve officers actually, legally can perform duties of a police officer. We're not using them that way, right? We're really just using them as this kind of traffic constable role.
They do have police authority. As of now, they won't as a constable, but you are correct. We have used them, special events and different things when we needed to augment our force. I mean, most of them are retired police officers, so we're getting a wealth of experience there. But yeah, you're correct. Our reserves are just that. And the issue comes that to be certified now, we all have to have the same training. So everyone's kind of scrambling right now to get that training to remain certified. So we're going to lose several because they don't have that 24 hours that the deputy chief alluded to, because we don't have them doing police work. We don't have them on patrol. The only thing that counts really is a few of the events that they do go to assist, and then training. So they're not even close to 2,400 hours.
So does shifting some of these individuals to traffic constables, does that sort of leave you comfortable that you're still, overall as a police department, still going to be okay?
Yeah, I'd like to see too, and I've had conversations with Chief Purcell, because their firefighters are familiar with how we operate, to say, well, maybe there's a few firefighters that would want to be a traffic constable to assist us. Because how the tier system works is we have a detail filling software system. We enter the detail, and it goes to all the full-time employees first, by seniority on a rotating basis. Then it goes to our retirees. Then it goes to our reserve officers. And now it will go to our traffic constables. So it basically, it's still going to be, we'd like to see a police officer on the detail for the safety of the public, but it's going to help augment that staff to make sure that that tree company can still, get the job done on Church Street, and that's what's really what we're looking to accomplish here.
Yeah. No, I think I'm comfortable.
Shelby, anything from your side?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. Any impacts to the unions or the contracts? Does this have to be?
The only way is if we circumvent them to give it to a constable.
Which we're not
We
proposing.
don't do that. We follow the rules of engagement, and like I said, we'd like to see a police officer on every detail. It's just not practical. We're just extremely busy, and it's not just Westborough. We're talking to chiefs in Norwood, 300 plus chiefs, and our departments are all facing the same issues right now.
And so if I read it and heard it correctly too, this probably opens up the door for more constables for you. When they're not trained, they're not going to be carrying weapons, they're not driving cars.
Yeah, we'll evaluate that need. And you're right, there's DOT is talking about a 4-hour course they can do, remotely online. But it's something we'll look at later. The need now is just to keep those that we have in place, and then we'll evaluate as we can't fill jobs. Well, yeah, then we're going to need to start looking at, hey, adding a few staff. And like I said, there is, as the town manager stated, the town is recouping a 10% fee when the traffic constable is performing their duties.
Am I fine with just from a budget perspective? I'm assuming reserve,
there'll be-
constable, same.
No, it's exactly the same.
Perfect.
The cost for the software, liability insurance, all these things, and quite frankly, they're going to be paying for their uniforms, their training. There's nothing out of pocket for us with them except, providing them with a portable radio, per se.
Yep. Okay.
It's a win-win, I think, for Westborough.
I just had one quick
Yep.
question. Yeah, so, Chief, thank you, and to the Deputy Chief bringing this forward. You mentioned communication with diverse population. Just, I guess speak to how, I know you're bringing kind of changing the reserve police officers into the constables. How do you anticipate kind of being able to serve that diverse population and have that communication
I mean,
piece?
that's in there just for all policies dealing with that, saying that we need to make sure that who we're making traffic constables, they can communicate with people. It doesn't mean they're going to speak multiple languages, but the ability to communicate, the ability to interact, the ability to direct, and to be professional. And then in time, we'll see how the program goes as far as who is hired and who is selected to serve the community. But that is the intent of that is to say we want to hire, whether you're just directing traffic, you need to be empathetic, compassionate. You still may be dealing with people that, hey, they want to move and you're telling them to stop. You need to be able to still be a communicator with what I believe Westborough is a very diverse community.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions? If not, I'm assuming the constable, this is worked through HR and all that, so everything in front of us. I think our action tonight is to approve the job description and to add it to the classification plan. I believe, correct?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion if someone wants to make it.
I can
I have
paraphrase.
it here.
There we
I
go.
have it.
You got it?
I can,
Move to approve the job description for the traffic constable position and further to add the position to the classification plan.
Okay, is there a second?
second,
Okay, second by Select Board Member Marshall. Any further comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay, if not, all those in favor, we're going to do by roll call vote since we are hybrid here. So, Patrick,
Welch, yes.
Keo, yes?
Shelby,
Marshall, yes.
and Johnson, yes. So it passes 4-0, 4 being present. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much, and I wish
Thank you,
everyone a
everyone.
very happy, safe holiday season.
Thank you.
Yourself as
Same
well.
to you.
And to all our officers too, please pass that on from us. So. Okay, moving on. Next on our agenda is surplus property policy.
I think we're running a little early, and
So they're not
some
here.
folks aren't here, so can we do the Disability Commission?
Sure. Told you I was going to move this quickly. So we're going to move to item 6 on our agenda, which is a vote to concur with the town manager's appointment of Vanessa Hackett to Disability Commission.
Yep.
So,
So as the board's aware, at the annual town meeting in 2021, the voters approved the acceptance of statute to establish a disability commission. That commission is made up of 7 members, so 5 of them are individuals with disabilities, and we've already appointed 4 people to those positions, which the board has concurred with. And then 1 is an appointed or elected position, so we appointed the assistant building commissioner. And then 1 is a family member, and so this would fill the role of a family member of someone with a disability. And so I included Ms. Hackett's letter, but I think she's very well qualified in her professional experience as well. So, and we did interview her, myself, the assistant building commissioner, and our community development director, who's also our ADA coordinator. We did interviews of all the interested people.
Ian, would you like a motion?
sure.
So I move to concur with the town manager in her appointment of Vanessa Hackett as a member with an immediate family member who has a disability for a term to expire June 30, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll just give a quick comment. I just had the pleasure to meet Vanessa Hackett when I was running for this office. I found her to be a very passionate individual, a very knowledgeable individual, and she certainly educated me on some of the needs of you know, our disabled community. So it's fantastic that she decided to get involved in this position. So I would just say that I think she's a good fit, and I appreciate Christy and team putting her through the process.
Great, thanks. Anything else? Okay, if not, a roll call vote here. So Patrick,
Welch, yes.
Sean,
Keo, yes?
Shelby,
Marshall, yes.
and Johnson, yes. So that passes 4-0, 4 being present as well. Are we expecting others for surplus property, or?
Are you ready to do surplus, or should we wait?
We can wait. We can go to other stuff if
Yeah,
you
we
want to
can do
wait
something
for.
else. We can do something.
You tell us if you're ready. I don't know.
Oh, great. Okay. They're there for a different item.
It's entirely up to the board.
Do you want to do the animal control while we wait? for
Let's do
her to
that
come
one
on?
first, yeah.
Okay. As the board's aware, we have a mutual aid or intermunicipal agreement with the towns of Grafton and Shrewsbury related to animal control, animal inspector services. This creates a relationship with Shrewsbury, which is really just mutual aid. So we just are backup for each other's communities, and there's no fees associated with that relationship. And then we also provide animal control and animal inspector services to the town of Grafton, and they do pay a portion, they do pay an assessment back to the town. And so this is an agreement that we've been in for several years now, which we renew annually, and when it was due, and we renew it in the summer typically in June for the start of the fiscal year. This year, we ask that you renew it for a 6-month period in order to give us some time to review that relationship and how we might move forward to do more of a formal district, similar to our Veterans Services District. And after talking with the two communities, Shrewsbury is not interested in moving forward, so it would really just be with us and Grafton keeping that mutual aid relationship with Shrewsbury. So we're still continuing to work with Grafton, but in the meantime, we want to continue this for the rest of the fiscal year. And so if there is any changes to that, we would bring that to you.
Okay, so my question was in front of us. So the motion was, I lost. It said in there through December 31st, 2021. It's really through June 30th, 2022 that we
Yes.
have to extend.
Yeah, it's June 30th, 2022. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Make a motion?
Please.
I move to renew the IMA for animal control / animal inspector services with the towns of Shrewsbury and Grafton for a period of 6 months or through June 30, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Patrick,
Welch, yes.
Sean,
Keo, yes?
Shelby,
Marshall, yes.
and Johnson, yes. So that passes 4-0, 4 being present. Sheila, any update?
Great.
Perfect. So this is back to our item number 5 on our agenda, the surplus property policy.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. Can you hear me? Not really sure. Doesn't sound like it.
Oh, Shelby can hear you, so that's good.
Shelby can hear me? Oh, so then I guess it's all in.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, everyone.
So first of all, I'd like to introduce you all to Shab Khan. She is your grants administrator and chief procurement officer. So if you haven't had a chance to meet her, she resides where my old office was. So Shab started on October 4th. And one of the first things that she started digging into was our procurement policies. And the first one she started on was the disposition of surplus property. So you have a policy on your selectmen's policies back, I think it is dated in 2007. So this was a much needed revision. And so Shaw basically added, she brought this policy from her previous community, so she did have experience in this, and she updated it for Chapter 30B, the thresholds and things like that. But if you have more specific questions about the policy, Shab is here if she can answer questions for you as well.
Great, thank you. And welcome, Shab. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My first question was answered, whether we had borrowed this or looked at other communities. You answered that, so I have nothing right now. But Sean, anything on your side?
No, it looks very straightforward. Thank you very much.
Well, you're most welcome.
Yeah, welcome. By the way, I only had one comment, and that was just to pull this into a standard format for the policies.
Yeah.
So just the language seemed fine, but just need to be. Thank you.
Great. Shelby, anything from your side?
No, I like well, yes, I like the enhancements. So thank you very much, Shab. Nice to meet you virtually here. And I would just ask to add to Patrick's comment, just that we have footers on both of those pages, just in terms of the issue date, whatever the approval needs to be on the footer. I guess that would be tonight if we approve it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm thrilled to be working in Westborough. Really nice people, and so far my experience has been excellent. And I'm bringing a lot of streamlining a lot of the processes and procedures, and you will see, and bringing some cost savings. I've also brought in OSD trainers to bring more training for the staff, department heads and purchasing staff. So I am baby steps, but I'm making a lot of effort to improve things and create a procurement office you guys can be proud of.
Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you.
And I will echo the fact that we've actually had a number of department heads really thrilled with having Shab here to help them and guide them instead of floundering, actually having an expert. So it's
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean,
Yes.
even being on the board and hearing this stuff, I can imagine the efforts that our different department heads and others did in kind of streamlining it, as you said, is, again, it's what we want for the town, is make things more efficient, also to do things correctly. The policy, as I read through it, extremely thorough. I love the way it broke it down in the various aspects. It makes a lot of sense that even I can understand it. So thank you for putting that together.
And I'd like you to invite you all to look at the website and look at the purchasing page. And I've created a new purchasing page with goals for our strategy in Westborough, how we're going to be purchasing going forward. And it also has recent procurements, awards, and IFBs, RFQs. Everything's being advertised on the, and we're making a big effort to be as transparent as possible and be a welcoming community to local businesses and other businesses in Massachusetts.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion on this? About approving the policy. Basically move.
Yeah, I can make the motion. I move to approve the new surplus property policy.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Okay, if not, roll call vote. Patrick.
Welch, yes.
John.
Keo, yes?
Shelby.
Marshall, yes.
And Johnson, yes. That's 4-0, 4 being present. Thank you very much. We look forward to the continued work and continued streamlining.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Me too.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be on Westborough team.
Thank you. We're happy to have you here.
Good evening.
Good evening. So we're way ahead of schedule, so help me out here. Do we want to?
They're
on, so
on, so.
we can move to the Clifton Larson.
Okay. Perfect. So we're going to item number 7. This is a presentation request to approve contract with Clifton Larson Allen to provide consulting services related to the American Rescue Plan, better known as ARPA funds.
So Shab actually helped me with this. We put out a request for quotes through the Combis state procurement, and Clifton Larson was the only one that responded to us. And so basically we came up with a statement of work. and we pushed it out to help the community with the $5.7 million worth of ARPA money to make sure that someone's here to guide us as far as the reporting requirements and going through the next 4 years of reporting requirements and making sure that we're using the money for what it was intended for. Obviously, no one wants to get 1 or 2 years down the road to find out that we have to pay funds back because someone didn't, answer a question correctly. So without further ado, we have Chris and Sean from Clifton Larson Allen, and they are the folks that are going to put this together for us.
They're going to talk about some of the things that they offer and what they'll be doing for us related to what Leah was saying, eligibility and reporting. The contract is proposed at $132,540, and that's for the entire 4 years. So if we were to use them, so if we were to allocate and spend money more quickly than that, it would go down. But I don't think that we don't expect to do that. So I think we should look at it as a $132,000 contract, which is eligible for use of ARPA funds. And so we could reduce that 5.7 to pay for this contract, which we've talked many times about going through the whole process, and we still intend to go through the whole process. But in order to get that process solid, and you'll hear that from Clifton Larson today, I think we need to get this in place initially. So.
Perfect.
Great. Well, good evening, everyone. Assuming, Christy, you wanted me to take over from here. So is everybody okay if can I share my screen? I do have a little presentation.
Yep, I think so.
All right. Bear with me. Share.
Yep, perfect.
All right, it worked. All right. Now I just have to move one thing and we'll be good to go.
Let me check, actually, just before you go, Shelby, can you see it as well?
You're good. Okay, great.
Yeah, all set, thanks. And I have it on my laptop, my other one.
Yep, perfect.
Great. Well, thank you for having us here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Although right now, Chris, excuse me, we're seeing an email.
Yep.
We lost your...
We lost your screen.
Oh.
You went back to an email, yeah.
Well, that's not good. Let me try that one more time. My apologies. I'm too used to using Teams. I think that's the problem.
That looks good.
Are we back?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Let's try this again. Thanks for having us here tonight. My name's Chris Rogers. I am the managing principal of CLA State and Local Government Practice. And with me, and Sean, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. My name is Sean McGoldrick, and I'm a manager director on our SLG consulting and outsourcing team based out of Lexington, Massachusetts.
Thanks, Sean. And for those who don't know, SLG, that's state and local government. We work in an acronym world, so
Sorry.
Sean.
No, thank you for jumping in. I was surprised that Select Board Member Marshall didn't ask you to say that, but you beat her to it, so thank you.
You're welcome. So what I'd like to do tonight, just give you a very brief overview of what the firm profile is, what our governmental practice looks like, not only in Massachusetts, but across the country. Talk a little bit about the engagement scope, and then talk about some of our relevant experience already with ARPA. Then talk about our service approach and timeline, key team members, and then any questions that you may have at the end. And feel free as we're going through, you can ask questions as we go along. It does not bother me at all. So with that, just from a firm overview standpoint, so CLA has been in business for over 60 years. It's actually about 65 years now. We're a little over, well, about 1.1, 1.2 billion now in revenue. So a very large firm. We have over 7,400 people and with 130 locations nationwide. And a little background here. I don't know if anybody ever heard the name of a firm called Sullivan, Rogers and Company that was based out of Burlington, Massachusetts. Well, that was a company that I had started back in the early 2000s, and I sold to CLA in 2014. And we were a boutique firm. All we did was state and local government. That's all that I personally have done in my entire career. Sean, I'm pretty sure you're in that boat as well. I won't tell you the year I started, but it was a long time ago. But one of the things that attracted me and my partner at the time to CLA was the fact that they were industry driven and not service driven. So, and what that means is that they really truly cared about state and local government. They're going to put the resources to it. And that was a big selling point for me. And, you know, right now, state and local government out of that 1.1 billion is $120 million industry at CLA. So it's not a, you know, push it to the side. We'll do it in our downtime. This is what we do. And, you know, from a national standpoint, we have over 400 professionals that are providing services to over 4,000 governments across the country every day of the year, or every working day of the year, I'll say it that way. But again, a very large investment in the state and local government market. From a reputational standpoint, we perform the most single audits in the country. So the single audits are your federal grant compliance audits. We also perform the most state audits in the country, including the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We recently won that one. So that was a big one for me personally, because that was one of my career goals was to audit the state that I actually live in. So, and I think the thing that's what CLA brings too is this our industry participation. And what I mean by that is we sit on a lot of boards. So we're part of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants Government Audit Quality Center. We sit on, and we've sat on the COVID-19 Accountability Group for the National State Association of Auditors for the past 2 years. And the reason we're allowed to sit in on that is because of our contributions to the National Association of State Comptrollers, auditors and treasurers. The reason that that's been really important the last 2 years is that those meetings involve the Office of Management and Budget, the Government Accountability Office, state auditors who are doing their own different type of state reports, the inspector generals. So we have a lot of insight to what is going on around the country, which obviously helps us when serving our clients, you know, whether it's in Massachusetts or across the country. From a local standpoint, for over 20 years, we've been a proven leader in audit, consulting, and outsourcing services to Massachusetts governments. Right now, we have a team of 35 professionals that are dedicated to Massachusetts governments year-round. Those 35 professionals include a robust team that does consulting and outsourcing. And we work with it's been between 80 and 100 Massachusetts governments a year. We have 50 to 55 annual audits, and the rest of the work that we have is the consulting and outsourcing. So from an engagement scope standpoint, and before I even get into this has been, you know, we had the coronavirus relief funds last year, and now we have ARPA. So there's a lot of money that's gone out there to local governments, and the big difference is, as you all know, is with the coronavirus relief funds, the state was in control. This time it's a lot different. It's a lot heavier lift for municipalities because you're getting a sum of money that you're responsible for programming, and not only programming correctly, but maintaining compliance so that you don't have to pay any money back, and making sure that you're meeting all of U.S. Treasury's reporting requirements, which I can tell you, been in this business a long time, they are robust reporting requirements. There's a lot more programmatic data that's required. Now they've pushed off the first reporting period till January 31, and it's been their reporting guidance has been slow. But the one thing that it's been consistent with is there's a lot of information that needs to be housed. So from a scope standpoint, and what the statement of work had asked for was assistance in determining project eligibility, which I think is critical. We're working with a lot of different cities, towns, counties, because it's not always, if you know federal regulations at all, there's gray area. We're also we're going to be assisting establishing internal procedures for finance and individual department heads as it relates to reporting. We're going to assist in validating the town's revenue replacement calculation. We'll provide support for U.S. Treasury reporting and any other requests that the town may have as it relates to the administration of the ARPA funds. The one thing I'd say about that is when about 6 months ago, it was 5 months ago, I got a phone call from a county, and they actually said to me, they're like, Chris, we got, $100 million, and we don't have the bandwidth to do this, so we want you to do it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I have no idea how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to do it. But one of the great things about CLA is that we have this Microsoft implementation team. And what I really found was the most difficult part about CRF, and what I was seeing is going to be a problem with ARPA is the administrative piece of it. It's all of the information. And if it's not contained and housed in a central location, it becomes very unwieldy. And that's the way a lot of communities were with the CRF funds, because it was just thrown on everybody. So what we ended up doing was developing a software platform, which was really to facilitate the administration of the funds, and not only that, assist with the reporting that's going to be required to U.S. Treasury. So, and the way that I looked at it is like, well, we're going to reduce our service hours. Those are going to come down because our administrative costs are going to come down. But we'll have a software platform that we can offer to our clients and prospects.
Chris, back on that page, could,
Sure.
if you can do it quickly, just more for education on my part. The revenue replacement calculation, you'll validate that, but can you just maybe give a little bit of description around what that actually is?
Sure. Sean, would you like to jump in, or you want me to do it?
No, I can start us off, and you can jump in when you like. So
All
one of the main ARPA buckets, if you will, is revenue replacement. So unlike CARES, CVRF, which Chris was mentioning earlier, you didn't have that option. ARPA gives you the option, and it compares a period in time of your normal revenue across all fields, or most fields, and compares it to what it would have been at a certain nominal percentage increase. So we have seen this throughout cities and towns of them picking and choosing different buckets, maybe just general fund, maybe just enterprise funds, or only selecting certain categories of revenue within there. But bottom line is that there's a calculation performed to see if the town has a loss. If you do have a loss, we're here to help verify that loss, and then you can use that money to offset a multitude of different costs with a few exclusions. Chris, did I summarize that okay, or do you want to go deeper onto that?
The only thing I'd add to it is it really looks at, and there are some, for the most part, utilities are excluded from that calculation, and fiduciary funds as well. It's looking at your general government revenue. And the challenge, and we haven't seen the calculation, is and that includes intergovernmental revenue, so revenue from the state, revenue from an MSBA project. So if you got, if you had an MSBA project going on and then it went away the next year, but the year that you're valuing your revenue, if your MSBA revenue was in there, you're going to have a loss the next year, which will make that loss eligible for the $5.7 million. And the way that ARPA is structured is very specific, except for the revenue loss calculation. So there's public health assistance, there's water and sewer projects, there's broadband projects, and then you have premium pay. And then if you have revenue loss, whatever that number ends up being, you can use that on general government services. And they even say in the guidance that it's a very broad, you have broad latitude on that spending. So that's what the revenue replacement calc is.
Perfect. That was.
I hope
that was
I hope I didn't confuse you.
No, that actually
Same.
helped me out, that helped me out a lot, so I appreciate that immensely. Patrick,
Yeah.
another question here.
Yeah, I got another question for you, so thank you very much for that. On the first box there, assist with determination of project eligibility, knowing that right now we have roughly twice as many projects that are being requested for funding than what we actually have in ARPA funds, can you talk a little bit about what that process would be to help the town with that project eligibility? And Christy, I don't know if you want to chime in
Yeah,
here too.
actually, I'll jump in. So Clifton Larson Allen would help us with eligibility, but they wouldn't be recommending one eligible project over another. So that would still be the role that we've discussed previously, which is working through the finance team, the finance committee, and ultimately this board to make those decisions. So when we did have this discussion, which is why I can answer it for them, I think, is that they're not making these policy decisions for the town, but they are, once we've sort of said what our priorities are, they would determine eligibility.
So it's eligible versus ineligible
Right.
is what they're determining. Okay. Does that help?
Thank you, yes.
Thanks.
Welcome. All right. So just a sample of relevant experience, and this is just a sample. Plymouth County, Norfolk County, you can see what's up there. We've been, I'd say since June, maybe even a little bit earlier, been engaged with many municipalities, not only in Massachusetts, but across the country. And service approach and timeline, we're going to work closely with the town manager and the finance director regarding the services that we just went over. We will move it their direction on what they want us to do. Individual departments will have direct line to us for compliance, eligibility, and reporting guidance as we move forward. And the service timeline is based on the execution of the contract through the last U.S. Treasury required reporting period. And what I mean by that is you have to obligate the funds or commit the funds by December 31st, 2024, but you have until December 31st, 2026 to disperse the funds. So if you spent all of the $5.7 million and had done your final Treasury reporting on, let's say, June 30th of 24, then the ARPA project would be over. So that's really, and the ARPA project's over when that last Treasury reporting, required reporting period exists. And then from a key team members, myself and Sean will obviously be on it. Hannah York, who could not be here because she's getting ready to go to Hawaii. She will be a key team member related to this. And the reason that we put 3 is that we really do work in a team. We don't want you to be able to reach out to one person. We want you to reach out to the team. We will appoint one person to be the primary, but all 3 of us will be very closely involved with this project. And you'll also have access to our state and local government COVID-19 response team. We have about 15 people across the firm that are part of that team in state and local government. And I mean, you'll have access to everything that CLA has. And with that, CLA is here to serve you. This is what we do, and we're excited about the opportunity. So with that, I'll turn it back over, and if anybody has any questions, comments.
Great, thank you, Chris. Sean, anything?
No, looks very straightforward. I mean, it appears they were probably the only respondent because they kind of dominate the competition in the state of Massachusetts, it looks like. So, seems pretty straightforward.
Thanks. Patrick.
Sure. So, yeah, a couple questions. So it is definitely great to see the experience you have with municipalities here in the state of Massachusetts and certainly across the country. My questions really focus around the software piece of it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe the software was a significant portion of the SOW. And I'm just curious, this is more of a question for our town staff. It mentions getting a demo of the software. Have you had a demo of the software? And do you believe, based on what your understanding of ARPA reporting requirements and the data collection piece, that it's going to meet the needs that you see for the town? You know, I think it was almost half the price of the SOW.
I haven't seen a demo per se. I have seen their presentation at a seminar. But also, if you want to explain deeper, if I go off and not explain it correctly, but the software cost is actually for 4 years.
Yep.
So the first year is 20, and then the next 3 years is 15 apiece. So it's not 65 all at once. It's the use of the software over the 4-year period, just so that you understand that. It's my understanding that the software piece of it is going to interact with the U.S. Treasury system, so therefore it is really important piece of this whole thing. We actually went into this thinking that we weren't going to take the software, but after speaking with Chris and his team, it seemed as though it made a lot more sense because the reporting requirements are going to be a bear.
Yeah.
And so,
I can only imagine.
yeah.
And that dovetails nicely into kind of my follow-up question on this. And this is more to Chris. Understanding that the software is available to us for 4 years, and hopefully we get through this COVID thing and the ARPA funds, and we've done the work around this and use the funds as appropriate. I would imagine that there is some need for the municipality to maintain the data. If after 4 years, what happens to that data? Do we get that data? How do we, you know, I'm not sure what compliance regulations there are for us long term around that data and the use of ARPA funds. Will we have access to that, or will we be given a data dump at that time? How will that work?
You will get a data dump, and you will have all of that data that will be in that portal is the town of Westborough.
Okay. Terrific. And I guess that was my question.
Perfect. Shelby?
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Actually, Sean, thank you for the chat. You mentioned that we can see some portals there, so that's very helpful. And actually, Patrick asked both of my questions, so thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, I saw
Great presentation. I would just add, I think that this is an extremely wise investment. It makes sense. This is going to be a long process and a heavy lift in terms of that federal reporting requirement. So it makes all the sense in the world to work with folks that understand it and can, effectively protect the interests of the town. So thank you.
Thanks, Shelby. I did see that pop up, but we couldn't see it here. If you can send us that link, I'll put it in the minutes or whatever, would be great. And going last, Shelby, you said the same thing I did. I think it's a wise investment here, both in terms of the reporting and making sure we do that correctly and don't get dinged there, but also the eligibility. I know the discussions that have been happening within town so far, and I think as was said, if you make a mistake and think something's eligible and then it's not, it could cost us a whole lot more than $132,000 to pay that money back. So.
Yeah, and to add on to that, if I may, I would just say, there's this other piece of it of cost-saving wise of not having our department heads having to do this level of tedious work. They can rely on, CLA to assist with this piece of work and the compliance. So I think there's another piece of it that we really can't tangibly grab onto, but we know is going to be beneficial. So, perfect.
Great. Any other questions or comments? If not, someone want to make a motion?
I have it right here. Move to authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Clifton Larson Allen for an amount not to exceed $132,540.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. So we had no other comments or questions. I'll go to roll call vote. So Patrick.
Welch, yes.
John.
Keough, yes.
Shelby.
Marshall, yes.
And Johnson, yes. That passes 4-0, 4 being present. Yes.
Great.
One last question here.
So I just want to make sure that we are all in agreement that this is going to be funded out of the ARPA funds. I know that we had talked about coming back and bringing forward proposals, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands that it's being paid out of the ARPA funds.
Yeah, we don't want to raise it in taxes.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
we can't sign a contract that we don't have funds for.
I
so-
believe
Should the motion,
Do you
Should
want to add that to
include
the
that?
motion?
don't we need them to tell us it's eligible?
It
Actually,
is.
did say that. It did say
Chris,
that.
you can answer that.
Yeah.
Bucket
It is.
7.1, ARPA eligible administrative costs. You're good.
Oh, there you go.
Want to amend your motion there?
Much better when I'm just reading. That's
Yeah.
okay.
But just add
Move
that,
to-
add that to the end.
Authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Clifton Larson Allen for an amount not to exceed $132,540 allocated through the ARPA funds.
I will second that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, back. We'll re-vote it just to make sure. But Patrick,
Welch, yes.
Keo, yes?
Shelby,
Marshall, yes.
and Johnson, yes. So it stays 4-0 for being present. Thank you for that. Chris and Sean, thank you both very much for your presentation, and we look forward to working with you over the next few years.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us. Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Looking forward to
Have a
it.
good
Yeah,
night.
have a great
Take care.
holiday.
Holidays.
Thank you very much.
You as
Happy
well.
holidays.
Thanks. Great. So moving to item 9 on our agenda is letter of support for Mass General Brigham Hospital. This is related to discussion at our meeting last week. Christy, you want to?
Yeah, so Alan, Chair Edinburgh had provided this draft, which you had asked him to do in response to the proposed legislation that would impact the determination of need process around Mass General Brigham, and then also the report that was issued by the Attorney General. So he did provide the draft. He does have a section here in blue that he wanted to call your attention to make sure that you're comfortable with it as it stands. This letter would be sent to our Senator Eldridge, and also Senator Moore, who we met with previously, who will become our senator in the future. And that's because this legislation will be before the Senate in January, we expect.
Great. Any comments before I go to the board? Any comments you have or Kim has in terms of anything that concerned you or anything that may have been missed?
I don't have any additional comments. I feel like the letter's very thorough in terms of articulating what the board raises concerns last week.
Great. So I'll turn it then to the board with any comments. Patrick, anything?
Sure. I guess, first of all, like I said last week, it's unfortunate we're in this situation, and it's unfortunate that we're having to make quick decisions like letters like this, I think, on the fly to address these issues. I have a number of, I'll say minor corrections to the letter. I don't think they require a lot of time, and I can certainly send them to Christy and Alan. Just some very fundamental things, like I'll give you an example in paragraph 1 of specific concern. Our House Bill H4262, it should be is House Bill. It's singular in nature, right? So just some simple things like that in it. But of more concern to me, and I realize we're up against the deadline in regards to, I believe the Senate comes back in early January. We don't meet again until I think after their first session. More immediate to me, I'm concerned about the strong language in paragraph 3 in regards to the Attorney General's office. I don't feel that way. I do not feel that her letter. I feel that she did what her office was requiring her to do under state law, and she listed those things inside of the various different footnotes to address what's required of her legally, and I believe that she did that. So while I'm not happy with the fact that this resolution has gone through, and I do believe and I do support us providing a letter to state that we would like to see the Senate modify the bill, I don't feel comfortable with that particular paragraph, or at least as written. And I was going to offer, but then realized that we're kind of up against the timeline here. I was going to offer, if the board so desired, to work with Alan to reposition that paragraph, I think, to something a little bit more real, I think a little bit more neutral, I'll call it.
Do we know when this is going in front of?
That's what we were just trying to look up. because you do have several weeks before your next meeting, but you could have an additional meeting if you wanted to offer, if everyone has similar comments that they want to work through, especially where Alan isn't here, it might be worth a short meeting in the interim to get this finalized, to get it out to the senators. So Kim's looking that up right now, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, because of your concerns, I didn't have the same concerns as you, but I think if it's coming from the board, I'd rather, if we can get it from the full board, I think that's the
Yeah.
powerful versus
I-
majority. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hold it off, have you work, and others work with comments to Alan, as we know he's not here tonight. That would be my preference. Although, as folks know, I hate additional meetings, but if we need it and it's quick and we don't
Put
add
anything else on
10
it.
other things on there. But if we find out also that they're not going to meet on this until after our first meeting, then maybe we can do it that way. But that's just my thoughts. But I don't know, Shelby or Sean, love to hear your comments and any thoughts you have regarding that or anything else on here.
I can go?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Yeah, I would say I support Alan's document. I think generally, I believe that the independent cost analysis and the determination of need process should be enough. And the fact that they're sort of just totally subverting that process through legislation, I think is abhorrent to me. Yeah, in overall, I agree with Alan's document. Yeah, I mean, I would maybe recommend a couple minor changes, but the tenor of it I agree with. But I think, yes, I'm in concurrence with you guys that if, come back in 2 weeks and have a quick meeting.
Okay. Shelby.
Yeah, Patrick, I didn't find that third paragraph as concerning, but as you were talking and I was rereading it, I understand your concern. So, and to Ian's point, I definitely I think it's important that we have full board support on this. So, you'll all find it surprising that I really don't have any significant changes, but if we can send those in and have a quick meeting in January, then great.
Perfect. Thank you for allowing me to work with Alan.
No, thank you. I think, yeah, I think I want it to be good and that we all feel supportive of. I think it's important, similar to what Sean said on my part, and I said at the last meeting, is that I think we need to get it in front of them because I think the House, in my mind, overstepped what to do by going retroactive. It felt very directed at what's happening here, and I just think that's something that we should push back on from our legislative body at the state, 'cause I just think it really is an overstepping on their part. But
Yep. And if I may,
Yep.
I'll just say, Christy, I think, or I think you mentioned that Alan had said specifically the blue area of the document he wanted us to look at. I will just say that I had really no issues with that area of the document, so that to me was fairly clean, maybe a little bit wordy in some areas, but pretty good. But yeah, I'll when Alan gets back, if it's okay with the board, I'll definitely set up some time with him to work through it and provide a new version back to the board.
that'd be great. And I think if anybody else has any comments, Sean, you mentioned you have a couple small
You
ones.
should send them to me.
Send them to Christy, and then
Yep.
she can get them to Alan and to Patrick, and we'll have the two,
Okay.
not three, work on it.
Right. Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. So we have no motion for that, and we can all I appreciate Alan as he was heading on vacation to put this,
Yes.
to prioritize this. It was good work there. Okay. Unless I'm missing something, I think we're at issues and correspondence of the board. So, Shelby, I'm going to start with you, if you're ready.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm nothing to add tonight. I just want to wish, other than to wish everyone happy holiday and a safe start to the new year.
Thank you. Sean.
So I just had one quick item. So the Library Building Committee was here, or Maureen was here last week. Shortly after that meeting was the deadline for receiving OPM packages, and 12 were received. So at our next meeting on the 28th, everybody will have gone through those packages, and we will hopefully come up with 3 finalists that will come in for interviews. So, but yeah, that seems like a pretty strong showing.
A lot of interest.
Yeah, so I will let you know how that meeting goes at our next meeting.
Perfect, thank you. Patrick?
Christy mentioned the one thing I had about Youth and Family Services donations. I'll just echo, thank you very much for all the donations and the recognition of the uptick of the need in our community. So thank you, everyone. And I'll also just say happy holidays to all, and I hope all stay well and safe. So have a great time this holiday season.
Thank you. I just have one thing. Did have a rec committee meeting last night as the liaison from this board to that. It was solely focused on an item that will be coming before us in January, which is the presentation by the Community Preservation Act, or the CPA Exploratory Committee, and the rec committee reviewed that. Colleen from the committee presented she's been their committee representative there, and they did vote 4-0 to support the proposal that will be coming before us as a board. So just wanted to report out that, and you'll hear that when they come before us in January. I don't know which meeting it is in January, but they're proposed to come in front of us for their recommendation. Final things I had too, before we go and take the motion for executive session, do want to thank Westborough TV, as always, for broadcasting and their technical assistance to make all this work. So appreciate that, and echo everyone's for happy holidays. For those who celebrate, Merry Christmas. I know Kwanzaa is coming up, so those celebrate that too, and any holiday you celebrate. But hope everyone enjoys time with friends, family. Stay safe, stay healthy. And with that, someone want to read it, do a motion for executive session. Take my spot.
We're just going to read.
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to move into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the following unions: police supervisors, police patrol dispatchers, and Department of Public Works, and under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to act under the authority of the Select Board to approve executive session minutes.
And as chair, I declare that an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the board's bargaining position, and the board will not be reconvening in open session at the conclusion of that executive session, so we will not be reconvening. And can I have a second to the motion?
Second.
I moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Patrick?
Welch, yes.
Sean?
Keo, yes.
Shelby?
Marshall, yes.
And Johnson, yes. So we are adjourned in open session, and we will be moving to executive session. Thank you, everybody.